Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Now, that very last word, I remember as a young child hearing and wondering if they were trying to say inequity. Well, looking it up, when you look at the etymology of the word, it does mean unjust or unfair or unequitable. So it's very, very close. It's been used interchangeably with evil, but in today's video, I think it gives us an insight into something that's going to be going on here in this country very soon. It's going on now, but it's going to be going on a mass scale very soon. But for those of you who are wondering if it truly is, very near the end. U.S. ally welcomes Russian Navy frigate. The Admiral Gorshkov, has dropped anchor in Saudi Arabia's port of Jeddah for the first time in 10 years. Now, this is right after the news that the Saudis are beginning to trade oil in yen. This is the beginning of the end for the dollar, and the socialist effect of it are about to go away. There are a lot of people in this country who are mistaken about why the dollar is valuable. They think it's because of American greatness or how super productive we are. It has nothing to do with it. And when this all falls apart, there are going to be a lot of people, pay attention, in this country that are going to be shocked to be treated unfairly, especially those of you holding gold. The de-dollarization of world economies, Z-Putin agreement, Saudi Arabia's shift to the yuan, 22 hours ago, 4 April. This is what's happening. And who would have thought the voice of reason and the voice of morality in the world would be coming out of Uganda, coming out of Africa? But there are other places. There are other places in the world. In fact, an influencer, you either love her or you hate her, Nicole Arbor, is thinking about relocating to Jamaica. I've talked about relocating to Brazil, but maybe Jamaica might be an answer. But I'm going to show you guys something about Jamaica that I think you're going to find absolutely fascinating a little later on in the video. It has to do with how things are exchanged. And I really do believe that a lot of people would have a wake-up moment if you hang on till the end of the video. Now, I know we're talking about a lot of different things in this video, but they're all going to tie together. Made a lot of videos way back in 18 and 19 about how governments were going to, when they collapse, when they start having financial problems, start letting prisoners go, and the effect of those large mass groups of people re-entering society is going to change the face of society as we see it. Now, some of these things I cannot talk about in detail here on YouTube because, of course, there is the giant woke crowd sitting there right next to you, believe it or not, watching this video, waiting for me to say something they can report me for so they can have my channel taken down. They're sitting right next to you. They're out in the crowd, but they're unwilling. They're unwilling to step up and try to do it over Patreon, because they knew it would cost them $1. And then, of course, that takes away the good feeling they get from ruining other people's lives. That's what they do. That's what the woke crowd does. It's what they live for. Because they don't feel like they're achieving anything unless they're ruining someone else's life. They're ruining a country. They're destroying culture. That's what gives them their thrill. If you'd like to join us over at Patreon, where we don't have to worry about these people, Patreon is kind of like the Jamaica of the world, much like southern Brazil and a few other places where we can speak like adults and we can have freedom and we can have liberty. It's $1 US per month, even less if you sign up for an entire year. Fully refundable first 90 days. Now, I would like to give a quick shout out before we get into all this to this channel called The Beach Inspector. It's really a great channel. It's only got about 1,200 subs, 375 videos, but some absolutely fantastic beach content, a lot of it from the Caribbean, Aruba, Barbados, Jamaica, the Bahamas. And we talked about this in yesterday's video, how those places are going to be a lot more non-woke friendly going forward. And for those of you who remember the video, 5 o'clock somewhere, They talk about Jamaica this way, Montego Bay. But here's the inequity. Here's the beginning of it. Christian mother sues state for denying adoption over her gender beliefs, putting politics over children. You see, basically the idea in Oregon is this. The children are going to be in charge of the family. They're going to see children the same as adults. And adult Christian belief is going to be relegated to conspiracy theory. They're going to start calling Christianity conspiracy theory and false fake religion. Because if you don't honor your child's desire to harm or mutilate himself over some perceived gender dysphoria, then you're not allowed to adopt kids. Now, I'll put this right up next to something we talked about last year for a long time that absolutely threw me into a tizzy over the fact that our governor even had one conversation with this man. It's okay for two sodomites to adopt and have kids and do whatever they want to them and teach them whatever horrible cultural values they want, but Christians can't teach their kids Christian values. And I mean, we could look at the U.S. Air Force to allow obese recruits. They're bumping the standards up to 36% body fat. That's how much young people in this country don't believe in this country anymore. I mean, think about that for just a minute. But 76,000 California inmates now eligible for early releases, violent and repeat offenders. Crime surge. This is 18 October 2022. Prison populations plunged. See, this is what I said was going to happen. I said they're going to open the prisons. They're going to open the prisons. Inmates granted early release. Courts face backlog in 2020. Now, this is 18 October 2022. Let's fast forward to 4 April 2023. Guess what? See, they've ended the COVID emergency. But guess what? Prisoners in home confinement due to COVID can stay there even after emergency ends. They're not going to scrape them back up. And here's them basically admitting it at Georgetown. Use of early release to ease the financial burden of incarceration. This is literally them saying this is why we're doing it. We're not alleging these people aren't criminals. We're not alleging that their sentences were unfair. We're not alleging that, they should have never been in jail to begin with. We're just saying it's just costing too much. It's just costing too much. It's too much of a financial burden. I'll give you all these links and you can follow this. And this article is from 31 March 2023, where they just basically admit it right in the title. Steve Marshall, this is Alabama. The mandatory early release law of 2021 causes and consequences. This guy talks about how terrible this is going to be. Now, over at, Restricted Republic, Lisa Haven, Justice Knight, talking about the massive economic growth in countries that are now largely lined up and allied against Washington, D.C. See, I don't say America because they don't hate us, but they do hate Washington, D.C. South Africa, Russia, Brazil, India, and China are experiencing massive growth, massive wealth increases. Wow, what's going on here? See, this is, and I know people are like, oh, not this again. This is what happens when collapses happen. You mark my words. We say, well, the U.S. is going to be a third world country. They don't really get what that means. They don't get how people in third world countries survive. I'll let the images here speak for themselves, left to right, 3 different columns, left to right columns. So Jamaica, what's the big deal about this place? Why would it be some type of a safe haven? Well, not only would it be somewhat of a safe haven culturally, but you would learn something a little bit about money and how gold and silver aren't going to save you. Now, this is a menu, and a sample menu board of a place in Jamaica. Ham and cheese melt, 750 Jamaican dollars. Now, roughly the exchange rate is 150 to 1. So, for American dollars, I'm looking at the center column here where it says sandwiches, wraps and paninis. I'll zoom in a little more. Okay, so $6 for a ham and cheese melt. Looks like $8-9 for smoked salmon marlin. $6 again for chicken, for the veggies, for the turkey. $6, $7, $8 for a sandwich. Okay, not the end of the world, right? Well, this is all based on something that would go away with a U.S. collapse. You know what that would be? The hard exchange rate to the U.S. dollar. See, none of these other places are required to give you the Washington, D.C. established exchange rate for your dollars or your gold. Because gold is what? Gold is denominated in dollars. You can't use your gold transactionally. You can't use your silver transactionally. Right now, you have to go convert it. And who's in charge of making sure you get what the right amount for that gold? Well, guess what happens in a collapse situation? They don't even have to accept U.S. dollars in Jamaica, do they, technically? No. What if you went into a place like this? Let me give you a scenario. And you walk in, and you've not eaten in a while, and you want to get that smoked salmon marlin, that's that $9, and you're going to pull out $9 US. And they say, so it's 1,000 Jamaican dollars, man. And, well, I've got $9 American dollars. That's roughly the same. Here's 10. Well, let's call it 10. Sorry, man. We don't take American money here no more. Oh, we have to go exchange it. It's like, okay, well, all right. And you go down to the exchange office, and all of a sudden, it's not 150 anymore to 1. They've decided, we're going to give you 30 to 1. And you throw a fit. Well, guess what? Their country, their rules. So you don't have any other choice. Well, let's say a buddy of yours, he's got some gold. And he's like, you know what? I've got a plan. I've got gold. He'll take gold. Gold is blah, 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 so many dollars. Maybe. Maybe not, because what do you have to count on? You have to count on whoever's making the exchange with whatever currency you have, honoring the U.S. DC enforced exchange rates. If they think you're hungry and they think you don't have a choice and they think they got you boxed in, they got you. And like I said, you can say, well, I'll take all my gold and I'll convert it into bitcoins or whatever. They can do in any random country. If DC is no longer a force, which is what we're seeing, and they're de-dollarizing, they don't even have to take the U.S. dollar. They don't even have to accept it, and they don't have to give you an exchange for it that you think is, pay attention, you think is fair. This is what a lot of survivalists are completely screwed up in the head about. I don't mean to say it in a nasty way, but this is the reality. In a grid down, power down, end of the world, de-dollarization situation, your silver, your gold, your bitcoins, all that is going to be denominated. What keeps it valued in your head is how many dollars is this worth? What happens when they stop taking the dollar? Let me ask you again, what happens when they stop taking the dollar? You see, this is all good and fine. When people say they're going to shift to doing trade without the dollar, what happens when they stop taking it? And they stop valuing things in dollars. See, it doesn't matter what provision you've made up until this point. If the provision that you have made based on a certain value you've assigned to the dollar, you're in trouble. I know a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around that. This is what they did to Venezuela. This is what the U.S. did to Venezuela. The bolivar used to be a powerful currency, but everybody down there had this idea that it always would be because of the oil. And they didn't realize that and Chavez realized this, that it didn't matter how powerful the bolivar was if all the money was denominated, everything was denominated in dollars, and those dollars were in American banks, and the American government controlled American banks. It didn't matter. They had them. And that's why he tried to divorce the country from the IMF and from the dollar system. That's why they took down Venezuela. Just like every other country that tried to de-dollarize. Well, now the U.S. can't take down China. The U.S. can't take down Russia. Can't take down India. Can't take down Brazil. See, this is why the game is up. And this is what this word will go all the way back to the beginning, all the way at the bottom. God hath remembered her inequities, her unfairness, forcing countries, because of the Bretton Woods Agreement, to sell their currencies, buy U.S. currency, to just purchase oil. And the unfair exchange rates. That it would take $1 US to equal 150 Jamaican dollars. Really? Because Jamaican work is, I've said this before, go mow a lawn, go get yourself a push lawnmower, and go mow 1 acre. Okay? Now, is it any harder for you to mow 1 acre of grass in North America, or whether that acre of grass is in Jamaica, in somebody's yard there? Let's say they had grass and that's the standard. 1 hour of that type of work is worth 1 hour of that type of work. It doesn't matter whether you're in Jamaica. It doesn't matter whether you're in Florida. It doesn't matter whether you're in Indiana. It doesn't matter where you are. That work is equal to that work. 1 hour of pushing a broom, from the old song, 8 by 12, 4 by man of means, by no means king of the road. Work equals work equals work. Jamaican work is not 1/50th that of America. So a lot of people say, it's like, well, Americans work harder and more. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not the case. And I think this truly is the epiphany that this influencer, Nicole Arbor, has had about what's going on here, how inequitable things are here, how unfair it is, comparing things apples to apples. She was talking about picking up and leaving for Jamaica. Wouldn't blame her. She's actually from Canada, lives in Nashville, Tennessee. So, anyway, I will leave it there. I hope I was clear about this. Sometimes I miss the boat explaining things. But, if you work let's say instead of mowing a lawn, let's say it's unloading boxes off of a ship. Let's say you work an 8-hour day unloading boxes off of a ship in Virginia or Jamaica. It's the same sweat. It's the same amount of effort. Why do you get paid 150 times more? You go down to the local bar and they pour you a 32-ounce beer at the end of your workday. Why is that 32-ounce beer for you 150 times more than that 32-ounce beer in Jamaica? It's inequitable. It's completely unfair. That you would earn, say, $20 an hour. That would be the equivalent of, in Jamaica, let's see, 20 times 150, $3,000 an hour in Jamaica? In Jamaican dollars? You see, that's just not right. It's just there's something wrong with that. And I think that's what they're talking about here when the Bible says iniquity. So, anyway, I'll leave it there. But if you would like to go deeper dive, you'd like to go a little bit more down the adult road and why Uganda is leading the world in morality right now, join us. It's $1. That's it. For now, $1. Who knows what that's going to be worth? God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.